Hello, welcome to Short Circuit, a show I've never done before, one you've never seen before, and one I'm super excited for. I'm going to be working on teaching you how to build pedals, how to modify pedals, how to understand popular circuits, all kinds of good stuff. So I'm here in my workshop where I've done many morning lives that you've probably seen, and I'm actually sitting at my workbench. So my bench, I have a top-down view here. We're going to be building this kit today. Here's a picture, so if you were sitting at my bench, there's no camera view for this, but this is where I play with stuff, design things. I built the 1966 series here, etc., etc. And I'm really excited for this. So let's just kick it right off. This is a kit. I will build this today. Lord willing, it works. There's always potential for some error. That's just how the world works. And I'm going to do it right in front of you, kind of like jumping off a cliff. And then on other episodes, I'm going to be building breadboards. I think what I'll do is I'll consider this a part 1. And then on part 2, I'll breadboard the Fuzz Face. And then maybe part 3, which I've already done this, if you go mod your Fuzz Face on our channel, I did one where I modified a Hendrix fuzz, but I think doing it on the breadboard will teach you how to design and stuff. I also want to give a huge shout out to the OG pedal DIY guy, Brian Wampler. He's been doing these YouTubes for years, and his channel is a source of incredible information. So if you like this kind of content, go to Brian Wampler's YouTube channel, Wampler Pedals. So let's, I guess, dive right in here. Just to show you what I'm building firstly, let's pull up the StewMac website. So if you go to StewMac.com, there's a link in the description directly to this pedal, but we're building the Sun Fuzz. And the Sun Fuzz is essentially a modified Fuzz Face. And it's going to be something similar to like an Analog Man Sun King, I think that's what it's called. Whatever it's called. But these are like $79. You can buy a bare enclosure or a white enclosure. I bought this, I just bought it. They didn't even know I was doing this till we tagged them on Instagram last night. So I paid, with my own money, bought this pedal to build for you. And this is, kind of the inside here. Yeah. And then if you really, really like this stuff, there's John Cusack of Cusack Pedals. He has a DIY site that's really amazing, stompboxparts.com. There's a link in the description for that. You'll see tools that I'm using, everything from soldering irons to solder to breadboards to pliers, the whole thing. So that's literally the soldering iron I've used. He just so happens to sell that. So yeah, there's that. And obviously Fuzz Face, when we type that in on Reverb here, Fuzz Faces can be bought already assembled. That's misspelled. So this, you can buy a Fuzz Face for around the same price as the kit, and that's what a lot of you will say, but that's not the point. The point is you can build it yourself. I mean, Fuzz Faces go from a vintage one, like some in my collection are worth $3,000 maybe a little more. But there's 1,000 results. They're all over the place, and you can buy stuff like this for $149, and it sounds amazing. And then I'll also say, if you like the sound of this when I'm done, and if it actually works today, my 3 Series Fuzz is my favorite Fuzz Face I've ever made, and it's $100. And that's just a little shameless plug. So that said, let's do this thing where we like open the box up, like Ryan's toy review. All right, here we go. So you'll see here, zoom in a little bit, upgraded fuzzy faced classic. So This is kind of slides off, and StewMac. If you don't know about StewMac, they are an incredible resource for building guitars and such. And they got into pedal kits. I did some with them earlier when they first started this, but this is the Sun Fuzz, the paper we'll use. So these are some decal stickers that you can obviously put on the pedal. We'll get into that later. And then when you reach in here, I have the box, by the way. Oh, it's not, the stinger's not working. Hold on, I have to know. Okay, because I have the box and I have to show that. All right, so inside of this enclosure, the way they package it, it's pretty straight ahead. You flip it over and everything's kind of shoved in it. Screws for the bottom plate. This is the circuit board. So let's just start chomping in. Is chomping a word? I don't need scissors. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I don't need no scissors. Let's see. There's our circuit board we'll be building on. Man, that focuses. That's hardcore. Let's see. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Yeah, so there's our circuit board. My biggest advice on anything pedal related, especially kits. I learned on kits. I used to buy from General Guitar Gadgets. I learned so much from kits. Is just take your time. And you know, this live, I may go an hour and a half. I don't really care. This focus is going to be challenging, isn't it? That's okay though. That's for the Footswitch. So the Footswitch will kind of fit in this like that. And then we have the components. They're in a Ziploc bag. So I'm going to pour them out on the back plate here. Or better yet, I have a little parts tin that I use. It kind of keeps stuff together. I'm just going to dump everything in there. So this is all of our parts. Oh, I see. If I go wide, I can zoom in. Funny, funny lens. Okay. Then we have this. This is going to be considered like the hardware, so to speak. Jacks, switches, all that good stuff. Cut it open. Let's see here. And yeah, everything that's like hardware. My goal today is to get this to work for you, first and foremost. So it may not even be the cleanest. I'm going to shoot for an hour here, but whatever. Here's wire. Here is an LED bezel. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. That holds the LED in the enclosure. Little bezel thing. So I'm going to kind of put this stuff, I'm going to open everything up and put it in the enclosure. That's the Footswitch. So this is what a Footswitch looks like inside of a pedal. When you click it, we're going to wire it in such a way that it true bypasses. You have knobs. The fun thing is you could kind of do your own knobs if you wanted to. You could put something crazy. And then you have potentiometers. And these are going to go in the circuit board like such. A potentiometer is essentially a resistor that moves. So this is A250 is what it says. So it's a audio tapered 250K, meaning when it's down, it's 0 resistance. And as you turn it, it's changing the resistance to 250K ohm. So that's pretty straightforward. So those pots, we'll put them right here. And then you have 2 jacks. These are obviously what you plug in and out of. So no big surprises there. And looks like we have some foamy stuff. Oh, power jack. That's what you plug your power into. And again, this stream is for people who are very noob to stuff, because there's nothing wrong with being noob. I used to be noob, and I've probably put in 100,000 hours setting. I mean, literally, like over 15 years. There's the Malcolm Gladwell rule. If you spend 10,000 hours at something, you're a professional or whatever. you know, it's a hot take or an opinion, but I've definitely spent my time at a bench, and any of you could do the same thing. Any of you can build a pedal. Any of you could start your own pedal company. I say that to my own demise, but you really could. It's a fascinating hobby. It's a really beautiful hobby. And in a lot of ways, it's been kind of my therapy, like no joke. It's been so good for me over the years, even more than guitar, I would say. These stickers are nice. They're rounded, so you can actually, it kind of mimics a fuzz face. So we can pull these off, whatever. You can do whatever you want to do with that. Let's go through the instructions here and just kind of start it up. I'm gonna turn my soldering iron on, get it cranking over here. All right, so it kind of shows you tools that you might need. Really just a soldering iron. I would highly suggest getting one that's good. I know that sounds super logical, but if you go to like Walmart or somewhere, some of those soldering irons just really suck. So I would check out the pedalparts.com. I would encourage you, if you like this stuff, spend what you would spend on a guitar pedal on the soldering iron, because the payback is huge. Soldering wick is really important. I use a solder sucker. So if you mess up, or if you're modding, you have to remove, you obviously have to remove solder. So I use this thing. It's a suction device, and it sucks it out. But solder wick, somewhere over here next to my gaff tape, I have some of these. I barely use this unless it's a tough spot. This is basically a braid. You lay it over the part and it heats up and absorbs the solder, and it'll burn your hand off. One time Nick burned his hand building pedals, and I told him to put hand sanitizer on it. That was my remedy, because I was not qualified to be helping an injured employee. Multimeters, which I'll show you. I have two here. I have different settings on them, but multimeters are great for measuring, especially on a fuzz face. I'll try to show you some use of that. Parts list. This is all the parts that we put in this thing. I encourage you to read through that. Huge props to StewMac. This manual is really, really nice. I'm a huge fan of how good it looks. Yeah, parts list again. Painting your pedal. I considered doing this, but I just wanted to chill. It just tells you how to paint it, right? So you can go paint it, do whatever you want, be creative, and then you can put the logo decals over the paint, and then you clear coat it. So I say that's huge. Understanding components, we won't get into that, but over the series of this show, you'll learn. I mean, it tells you what a capacitor is. A resistor is used in an electrical circuit to present opposition to current flow. That's a really good descriptor. Capacitors, they store electricity or to block the flow of DC current. Very good. Diodes are where you want electricity to flow in only one direction. Transistors are an amplifier. ICs are another type of amplifier. But yeah, it just goes through everything here. How to solder. I encourage you to watch some YouTube videos. So let's dive right into this. And I'll also say, on my soldering iron, I didn't wet the sponge, so you know. Actually, let me just show you real life here. I'm gonna pour water out of my jug onto this. This is a bad idea, but I really do need the sponge. So the sponge is good. It keeps your tip clean. So yeah, this is a horrible idea, but you know, I'm committing. Yeah, not too bad. I've done worse. And then inside of that, I also have this thing that it looks like a Brillo pad, sort of. So the sponge, I'm just pushing it down in here and getting it really wet. And essentially, the iron, listen to that noise. ASMR, solder. But I can do that, or I can stick it in this Brillo stuff. So now that the tip is really clean, You always want to make sure you have a clean tip on your soldering iron. All right, after almost ruining my manual, let's look at what it says to do first. So I'm going to experiment here. Remember, this is kind of a prototype show. So I'm going to experiment with how this looks and review it later, but it's looking good so far as far as camera angles. Now, there's the board. It has the parts kind of printed on it, and you put the parts there. That sounds really simple, and then you solder on the back side that has no printing. So let's just go right into that. The first thing we want to do, I'm going to dump these right here and try not to confuse them with the other random parts on my bench. All right, it says in the book, install 1 diode and 2 transistors. It shows on the board where they are. So let's prep for that. I'm going to definitely do the diode. I'm going to put sockets in for the transistor, and I'll show you that in a bit. So notice on the diode, there is a line. So this is a polarized part. It has a polarity, meaning you definitely want to obey that polarity and put that stripe on the part. There's a little silver stripe there. You want that to line up with the circuit board. So it's a polarized part, really important. I encourage you to have a nice little set of metal hands, I call them, so you can pull stuff through. So like on this, I want to pull this through with the pliers evenly. And that part is big. These power, that's a power protection diode. If you plug in 18 volts, it'll blow the part up and not the pedal. That's a chunky little part. So it stays in pretty well. But I do kind of bend the legs ever so slightly so that it won't fall out. We'll clip those, obviously. We'll solder it and clip them off. Now, on the transistors, they supplied, this is a silicon fuzz face. And there are 2 types of transistor types for fuzz. There's PNP and NPN. PNP is reverse polarity. It's the vintage fuzz face thing, meaning like 1966 through 69, 68. And then silicon comes along, which is a much better part. And silicon looks like this. Germaniums, I have a bucket of germaniums. They're usually PNPs. You know, a classic fuzz face transistor is like the AC128 or something. You know, here's one of those. AC128 kind of vibe. And then this is the smaller silicon. So, you know, these are really classic. This is a BC108 type that they supplied, which is loved by a lot of people. I want to be able to play with that. I don't want to solder it in immediately. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to put a socket in, and sockets let you kind of pop the part in. I have one of these. I'm going to have to rig these as a socket for the other. But to do that, it's really straightforward. You have the 2 transistor slots right here. I'm just going to put a socket on this one. I'll do it on this one right here. That socket doesn't fit. So I'm going to make my socket on both. It's real important that I do this because I want to use this to show you the different sounds. I'm using this strip that I kind of found that's for something else, but I'm breaking it off, kind of 3 pieces per transistor because the transistor has 3 legs. I broke that one. I love this. If you're into this, you're a special kind of nerd. We could be friends. I hope you're having fun in the comments with Boki and Bell. Did that break too? Okay, so I have my kind of 3 sockets right here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is going to be a little challenging. Normally the transistor socket fits perfectly, but it's a little bit of a different part than what the sizing of this transistor is. They intended for you to just plug that in. So I'm going to have to get creative here. That one broke too. Again, I'm doing this just because I want to demonstrate the sounds and show you how fun that can be. You don't have to do this, but it's worth me doing it. There we go. There's one more. All right, I'm going to get real creative on how I hold this in here, because you only have 2 hands. So basically, I am putting them in the transistor hole like that. I'm going to use some painter's tape. I encourage you, even if you're not a painter, painter's tape is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Painter's tape is great for random stuff, marking off cases to drill, all kinds of purposes. But in this purpose, it's going to hold this down so I can solder it. I'm just going to push those down and push the tape down. So that's going to hold those loose parts in for me. That's a pro tip. You can donate to my pedal fund that doesn't exist for that pro tip. Same thing here. Painter's tape, push it down. This is handy when you have parts that fall out. So see now, you can notice those are being held in there really well. There's the legs. So let's solder these parts. That's what it says here in the book. It says to basically solder that up. Yeah, so part 2, pretty much done. All right, I have an exhaust fan. It's really loud, but I don't want to breathe in fumes, so let's do this together. Maybe it'll put you to sleep. Oh, that's nice. There's just people falling asleep right now, all over. So that fume extractor is pulling the smoke out of my face. You can buy these on Amazon. The one I have is K-O-T-T-O, Koto. It's yellow, real small. It has a carbon filter you can change out. I think it's on Amazon. It's like $50 or something. I'm not sure. Boki can find it on there for you. I think you can see it in this view. Yeah, right here. The Koto, K-O-T-T-O. I recommend it. My pedal building career was tainted with many sinus infections, and I actually had bad nosebleeds early on because I didn't know to ventilate. I knew nothing when I started. I just need to reiterate how bad and how stupid I was. Okay, turn that fan off. Most of you have fallen asleep now. So we have some really good solder joints here, and I'm going to move along. You need clippers as well, some good wire clippers. So I just clip. I keep a trash can right basically between my legs under the bench. It's my little method. You can see it right here. No, you can't. You can almost see it, but it's right there in the floor. And then I just toss stuff immediately down. Those don't need clipped. Remove that tape. Now the beauty of that is now I have sockets, right? And I can follow the orientation and just pop these in. I'm not gonna do it right now, but see, I can just go bam, and that's interchangeable without soldering. So nice little hack, especially when you're learning the sounds. Like, I know what a BC 108 sounds like. I have BC 109s up here in a drawer. I have tons of NPN transistors we can try. And you might enjoy the cheap ones that people make fun of on the forums. I usually do. Next up, we're going to do the resistors. Let's see here. Resistance is futile. So on the resistors, you have little color codes. And this kind of shows you the color codes. So I encourage you to look at those and get it right. So first up, we have a 470 ohm resistor. I'm going to leave this wide view. I'll zoom in a little bit. We have a 470 ohm resistor, and it says it's violet, violet, black, black, brown. Now that means it's because there's a color code on here. Let me find it and I'll show you. Violet, violet, black, black, brown. Where is it? I don't see it. Be funny if they didn't have it in here. Violet, violet, black, black, brown. brown, black, black, violet, yellow. Wow, I read that. That was like full dyslexia on my part. So like, see, even me, I'm having a good old time finding it. And you might want a magnifier. Brown, black, black, violet, yellow. So I found it. Let me show you. I have a magnifying glass somewhere. Where is, here it is. It's giant. Let me see if this actually works. Ooh, almost. That's not a good method. Like I said, we're working through some stuff. But there is a color code there. They're called color bands. Just trust me. I don't want to zoom in anymore. Yeah, I'm zoomed in all the way, but that's fine. So that's the 470. So I'm going to fly through these. And wow, there's 1,000 people watching. This is amazing. Okay, that's really encouraging. Maybe many of you will start a pedal company. And maybe you'll be able to know. The biggest thing about this is, and the reason I want to do it as an educator, is to show you that there's no magic. Like, I know you want to believe in magic, but like there aren't magical builders. It's just not a thing. Like, this is a circuit, right? This tech is like from the 40s. Like, literally, the transistor was invented in 47. This is basically 40s technology. That's my kind of long, short-winded feelings about that. Next up, we're going to do this one. So it's brown, orange, black, black, brown. Brown, orange, black, black, brown. That's a 100K. Yep, found it. If you have trouble with this, you can use your multimeter and put it on resistance mode and hold your 2 wires up. You could do this, like you can just put your resistor down, and with your multimeter, it'll read the resistance, and you can see it on the screen. And sometimes I do that, like if it's late and I'm feeling wonky, I'll just let the multimeter confirm. But we're doing a live here, you know, that's what we're doing. All right, pulling these through like such. Let's see here. There we go. Next up, we're going to just keep going down the line. This is a 4.7 yellow. So it's brown, brown, black, violet, yellow. Brown, brown, black, violet, yellow. That's this one here. And my fingers are huge too. Brown, brown, black. Yeah, that's that one. So building it. Da, da, da. I actually do talk to myself when I'm down. I love alone time. I'm extremely introverted. A lot of people think I'm an extrovert because they'll see me at NAMM and I'm like, I adapt. Or they'll see me on the show and think, oh, he's a super extroverted guy. I'm actually not. I want to cry usually when I get around people. So when I'm down here, this is like kind of my solemn safe space. And I do actually talk to myself. Nick and I, we used to build together when I first started, and we'd be in a room and we would just like make up songs, and we created all these characters. So talking while I'm building actually feels pretty natural. I think it's like I'm slightly psychotic and I kind of turn into like, you know, maybe I have multiple like personalities when I'm building. I'm talking to myself, having full conversations. It's pretty amazing. Next up, we're going to do this bottom one here. It's a 1K, brown, brown, black, black, brown. Brown, brown, black. That's it right there. Knock that out. Now, when I do the breadboard, I'm going to build the same circuit here. I'm going to teach you how to read a schematic, and I'm going to build this out on a breadboard like such. I'm going to build it out, and then we'll be able to modify it, and you'll hear it. And I'm really excited for that. And in the live stream format, I've never seen anyone do this stuff in a live format, which kind of lets me adapt quickly. And I'm super excited to see how that feels. And I'll be able to modify things and actually show you, you know, the sound in real time. A 33K is this one. That's the last resistor left, so I don't even have to really look. Let's see here. 33K. That's a little guy there. pull that out. Okay. All right. If you need to take a nap, here's your white noise. So soothing. Also, here's the sound of the sponge. That's so nice. All right. And when soldering, there's a little bit of an art to it. You don't want to overheat these pads. And so, but you have to get the part hot. So everybody, you know, there's proper ways, and then I just hold it on the pad, and the solder will flow down through the trace hole there. So that one's done. And remember, keep the iron clean. It's really important. Again, just heating it up for like a split second, then it goes down. Heat it up a split second. Touch the solder to the PCB, not the soldering iron, and it'll just kind of work. It'll just go down. You want to make sure the joints are shiny. I encourage you to find a YouTube. Maybe Joshua can find something on how to solder. Drop it in the description, but you know how to use YouTube. All right, you can wake up now. Man, that white noise, that just hits the spot. Let's see here. There's some funny comments about background music. I really did consider background music, but I'm just so you know, I'm clipping these off in the trash can here, so it's really handy. You just put your clipper and just clip them right down to the trash can. I'm a huge efficiency nut, so anything you have to touch twice is a waste of time. Don't clip your stuff, let it fall, and then have to clean it. Just clip it directly into the trash can and put it out of the way. That's our PCB so far, looking good. Now let's flip over to part 4, polarized capacitors. Polarized capacitors. It says there's 3. I only see 2 in the kit. That's a problem. Good thing I have a bunch here. All right. That's weird. It is missing a part. Life happens. All right. Not everyone's perfect. So first up is a 22 UF. So just like the diode was polarized, it really matters which way you put this capacitor. It has a long and a short leg. Long leg and a short leg. And you want to be sure that the long leg is on the positive side. When you look at the board, you'll actually see a plus sign or a plus symbol. So 22 goes over here, and it actually says on the board. So you put it through, it stands up like that, fits perfectly. Bend the legs so it stays in, bend them out. Next up, we have the 1 UF, which goes here. Bam. 1 UF. It's a little guy. Make sure your positive and negative legs are proper. And I'm missing the 47 UF. But I have a million parts in front of me that you saw earlier. 47 UF. Where are you at? Yeah, 47. It just so happens to be in the worst spot ever, which is almost reachable. Let's see here. Let's see. Finding it. There we go. Wait. Is this it? 47? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, you know, have a wall of parts at your disposal. Let me double check. That's a 47, so I'll put that right here. Never leave home without your parts, kids. All right, positive in the positive. The long leg is positive again. Put it down, bend it back, and let's solder this up. If you need a nap, you have a third chance here. Singing to myself, Fuzz. It would be really, there's an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer, when there's a certain, there's a lady on TV, it's like one of these TMZ shows or something. When he hears her voice, he has seizures. Like he has some kind of weird reaction to the sound, and he just falls out on the floor. I hope there's no one that when you hear white noise, it brings back some kind of traumatic experience and you can't cope with it. I apologize if that is so. All right, I'm just gonna clip these straight into the trash can. So that's what I'm doing, straight into the trash can. We're looking good here. Palmetto Effects says an excellent how to solder videos from Fuzzlord Effects. So yeah, check it out. Go check that out. I saw someone ask, do you recommend using a holder for the board? I have several holders. Let me pull one out. I just tend to never use it because it's clunky. So like this is a holder. I mean, it's not a horrible idea. I mean, you put it in, right? You can kind of adjust this thing. I'm just so used to not using one. I don't know. That's pretty darn nice. Let's try to use it. Who said that? Somebody, whoever said that, thanks. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to use a holder. I'm going to try. And it fell out. Let's keep trying. I'm going to use the holder for a second. You can teach an old dog new circuit tricks. Make sure it's tight. That would be my recommendation. You got to push. It's spring loaded. So push that in there really tight. And I mean, yeah, you can flip it over. Okay. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. Let's see here. Let's put this stuff over. There's those transistors. Okay. I'm going to try this. Whoever recommended that, I just never use them. It's really funny. All right. We now have the capacitors are soldered. If we zoom in here, we're fully engaged. Let's see. All right. Next up, we need to install one capacitor. This is a non-polarized capacitor. This is going to be right here on the board, right above those resistors. Let's keep it zoomed about right there. I need more stuff on my bench. You know, there's just not enough stuff. There we go. That's a good angle. Look at us. Look at us doing this together. So that red thing, I'm going to flip it over, bend it with my finger. Look at this. Look at this. Joshua, whoever recommended that I pull this out, I saw it and I read it. Send him a free 3 Series pedal. I'm dead serious. Send him a free pedal. Because a lot of people would probably rather do it this way. I'm indifferent. It's working out nice for the visual. So he's officially on staff today and he gets paid with a 3 Series pedal, whatever he wants. Okay. So that's in. Next up, we have install trim pots. So trim pots are important here. And a lot of times you see on a fuzz type circuit, the trim pots are actually external bias controls. When you look at my 3 Series fuzz, it has a bias control. So I'm moving the Q2 trim pot out for you to use. These are internal. They call this clean and bias. I'd have to look at the traces here, but clean seems to be attached. What do we got? What transistor bias is attached to? It's a little hard to tell on this trace. I believe clean is Q1 and bias is Q2 when we look at this, but that doesn't really matter right now. All right, let's put these trim pots in. We're going to install these. Now, a trim pot is essentially a small pot. That is exactly what it is. So you have the potentiometer like this. Remember, it's a variable resistor. You put the knob on it. Well, a trim pot is just a really small of the same thing. There's a 50K and a 5K. The 50K, as labeled on the board and in the book, goes at the top. So I'm going to look on the trim pot, and it says 503. That means 50. And this one says 502. Yeah, that's a 5K. So I'm going to put the 5K in right here. And let's see. Ian's Guitar Shack says free pedals to everyone. You know, whatever. It's not Oprah. Belle's over there sweating. She's like, please God, Josh, don't say free pedals to everyone. I mean, it's only 1,000 people. That would just put us out of business. I feel like that's a good move. If you think that's a good move, just say so in the chat. If you want to just see me give all of you a free pedal and go out of business, let's do that. Let's maybe think about doing that. Again, Belle is convulsing. Let's solder these in. I gotta admit, for filming, this circuit holder is so much better. He deserves that. He deserves it. He deserves it so much. I don't even know your name. You're like a beautiful stranger that changed my day. Okay. Hey, this is a boutique fuzz. You know what I'm saying? All right, what's next? Wires. Yeah. Look, it says StewMac's PCB holder is perfect for holding your circuit board. So they make one. Yeah, we're gonna solder these wires on here. This is not gonna be clean. I'm not gonna go like super clean with this. I'm just gonna get it done, and I'm gonna cheat. Instead of wiring 4 separate wires here to this, I'm actually going to, let me double check this. Yeah, I'm going to use a ribbon cable that I grabbed from our shop. We use these on our pedals. You can find these. Small Bear Electronics probably has them. Yeah, but the point is, I'm going to use a ribbon cable. I will need to wire a couple. I'm going to use the there's a 4-slot ribbon cable here. And because these 2 outer wires, they're not part of the switching. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have some outer wires on this breakout. They actually go to a different place. So I'm going to use this 4-pronged ribbon. I'm going to place it right there. I'm going to flip this over because I can flip it over now because this beautiful stranger told me to use this thing. It worked so well. Here we go. Carol Bell says, if I see this, Carol, thank you. Here we go. Carol, you want a free pedal just for being kind and helping me and suggesting something. You're awesome. And that I happen to look down and see that. The chances are astronomical. I'm just soldering this in. And all right, so we have that ribbon on. Now I'm going to use this stock wire they gave me. I'm going to widen out here. I'm going to use this stock wire and just begin to add some wires to the top section here. Move my lapel over a little bit for you. It's making hissing noises at me. There we go. So again, just using these wire strippers, stripping the edge off. Again, straight into the trash can is the way. That's how you keep your bench clean, kids. Straight into the trash can. I'm just gonna put, that's your positive voltage wire. I'm just gonna assume a length like that. And then I'm gonna put the ground wire. I'm just gonna wire this up. I'm gonna kind of stray away from the instructions for just a hot second so I can move a little faster. But essentially the instructions are just telling you, you know, do this, this, and this. So that's the plus voltage. This is the negative voltage. Because I am this way, I'm going to keep my ground wire black, and I'm going to make my positive wire yellow. I have some yellow wire that did not come with the kit, but I need that for myself. You know yourself. Know thyself. Is that a quote? I'm going to put the positive in. Just a different color is just really helpful to me. I know how my brain works, and that would be a mistake I would pretty easily make, is wire those backwards because I'm in a hurry here. So bending these leads back. Wire is a little trickier because it wants to go all over the place. Solder it in. So I've got the ribbon soldered, the 9-volt positive, and now I'm soldering the ground wire. And this ground wire will ground the circuit to the jacks and such. And I'm not worrying about exact lengths right now because I can trim this out when I put it in the case. I'm just got those 2 wires going. I've got that going. These other 2 positions, yeah, I'm just going to wire those in. I'm going to use black wire for that. This is another ground. So do that. I am amazed that there are 1.1 thousand people watching a person build a kit. That's really cool. Very cool. Very, very cool. A to K. What is A to K? Let me see what it says here. I actually need to look because that's an odd. Oh, it's not listed. Is A to K a? Looks like it's. Is that like a bias point? Oh, that's the power supply. Okay. All right. I was like, what the crap is that? I'm gonna wire this other ground as well. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna flip this over. That one fell out. Flip it over and bend the leg. Same thing here. Let's see. Smooth jazz would be good, but it would drive me nuts because I don't have the brain capacity to switch it. So it'd just be really annoying. Let's solder that in. Like I would be hearing the same song for like an hour. That would be bad. So I encourage you, put your own music on. You might want to listen to Slipknot, Creed, I don't know. This lapel keeps bumping. Let's move it. Let's move it down onto my shirt. There we go. All right. Flip that over. Clip that. And let's add that Footswitch board. They show it here. Little Footswitch board. Let me look carefully at this. So you just slide it on like such. Let me zoom in for this. So this Footswitch board, I have a ribbon cable. You would just, all the ribbon cable is contained normal wire. It just makes this a little easier. Yeah. Switch goes here, switch goes here. Okay. That's the writing on the board. Put these in. Let's see. Yeah. So I'll bend those back now. Just a couple of these. I gotta say it again, Carol. This is so much better for filming. I've never filmed myself doing anything like this. So yay for the circuit board holder, I guess. I learned something today, that when you're filming, it really helps, and I shouldn't be stubborn. I don't have the fan on. I'm inhaling this. Feels really good. It's a nutritious breakfast. Frosted Mini Fumes. That'd be a good band name. All right, switch. Let's solder this switch on. Again, I'm kind of straying here to move through, but you got these diagrams. Kind of just shows you where to put the pots and such. I'm going to put the pots on the board now, and I will need to remove it from this, it says. So let's remove it and go back. But man, that was so handy for soldering those particular parts. So good, so good. All right, let's just jump ahead. I'm going to get out of order. I'm going to put the switch on the board. So the switch only goes one way. So you can't really mess that up, and it holds it like such. So let me solder that in. Sleep Sounds 2.0. Let's see. I'm soldering the lug of the switch. Dun, dun. I'm soldering the lugs of the switch. It's gonna turn the pedal off. It's gonna turn it on. It's true bypass. This is my song. That was pretty good. I should have written for Barney. I feel like the Barney songwriters, they don't get the props that they deserve. You know, because I don't know if you've ever written a song about brushing your teeth or anything, but it's not easy. Barney songwriters were hands down some of the most talented cats in the biz. I like to say cats in biz when I talk about writing songs. Again, I would be talking to myself like this even if you weren't here. It's fine. All right. Footswitch is on. Let's put the pots on. So it has like a back. This is a little weird, kind of a strange way to instruct this, but I get it. It shows like laying the pots like this. I mean, they don't go like that, but they kind of do. Oh, is it show? Hold on. Oh, that's actually clever. That's clever. I've never done this. So they're saying, when I first saw this, I was like, it'll be backwards. So they're saying, put your pots down. Oh, here's the cap that they didn't include. It's just setting on my bench under the book. So StewMac, you're awesome. Sorry. But they're showing put the pots like this. I'm going to try it. So 250K goes over here. The 5K goes here. The 1K goes here. Now on a potentiometer, you have this little, let me see if I can zoom in on this. You have like this thing on the edge. You have to break it off. Let me see. Yeah, it's hard to get on camera. Right there, right there. See that? See that thing? I'm going to break it off. You don't need that on there, and you can't get it in the enclosure if you don't do that. So we're going to break those off. Put the 5K there like it says. 1K there. Actually, I want to take the hardware off as well. Get that over with. There's like a nut and a washer here. Let's put those there. Go ahead and do all that. I think that I'll have this working within an hour, and then I can take a second and modify it. We have 5K. We have 250K. Break the little tab off. Straight into the trash, kids. Don't throw it on your bench. Now, this is actually genius. So you take and you lay it down here, and then when it's soldered, it'll be proper, and you can put it through on the other side of the case. I have never seen that technique. There are probably 100 of you saying, wow, Josh, you've been living in a cave. I've never done that. I feel shame. I feel shame that I've never tried that. Watch. Check this out. Let me zoom in for you. All right. So they're saying you put it down like this. Gotta line them up, of course. Nothing's as easy as it looks, but let's line these up. There's the top two are in. I just need that bottom one in. Come on. Come on. Let's see. Just so close. Such a good idea if it works well. That's a little tricky. I've never done this. Hold on, hold on. All 3 pots. It's 9 legs. It's a lot of stuff to get. There we go. They're all in. So now the tabs, I know you can't really see it, but that puts the legs through and it's holding it for me. Man, that is so cool. I learned something today, y'all. Solder this one in. I'm soldering the 5K pot. I'm soldering the tone pot right now. Barney had cool writers. They were super bus and awesome. I don't know the hip language, and I've tried to learn it. My kids try to tell me what no cap and all this stuff means. All I know is this fuzz is on God. For real, bussin'. I want to make fun of that language, but I also remember when I was a kid, I would run around and say cowabunga. So, you know, everything has its place, I guess. Look at this. Bell. Have you ever heard of such, Joshua? I know, because I didn't teach you. Look at that. It did it. This was the jig. This is the jig. Amazing. All right, let's pop it in here. So now you have your like assembled fuzz face, and you just want to pop it in. And I didn't put the foamy stuff on the back of this pot. You need to do that, kids. It says right here in the, it says to put foam on the back because that's already touching. So I'm going to bend this. I do not advise you bend your pot that way. But this foam is going to insulate from those parts. That would have been a non-operational nightmare. Another great band name, non-operational nightmare. They were from the DC hardcore genre. All right, cool. Let's put the nut and washer on. This autofocus on the camera is like, please save me. Let's see. There we go. I'm amazed. I've had no technical difficulties. Mr. Macman says solder fumes are better than Febreze. I agree. Febreze is overrated. I've had no streaming can be very difficult. It can drive you mad. These are really handy. I have these rocket sockets. You can get these over at the Stompbox Parts. But they're sockets that you just use with your hand. Again, early JHS, we did stupid stuff. Like, these are amazing. These are that one's stripped out a little bit. No, it's not. It's good. So, these are really awesome. So I'm going to put the Footswitch in as well. Where's that Footswitch hardware? Yeah, I'm going to put this on here. This is like a spacer, so you can determine if you want your switch to set lower or higher. I'm just going to kind of put it in the medium. So I have a ribbon cable. You won't have that, but it does make it easier. StewMac, if I had one suggestion for your kits, include a ribbon cable for the Footswitch. It's just less wiring. When you're learning to build, wiring is so difficult for most people. So rocket socket for that. It's so easy and nice. Look at that. So go check those out. I think the guy's from Australia. But bam, bam, bam. I'll keep those out because I think I'm going to need to put the power jack in. Let's go ahead and do all this other stuff. So we have like the LED bezel. Again, I am skipping over some things just for the sake of time. I am not worried about taking more time here. You're all mine today. I'd like to not go 2 hours, but you know, this is, if you're engaged, whatever. And you can watch this later. Let's see. Yeah, I should have put that in earlier. There we go. What size rocket socket is that? It's a small one, but not too small. Nope. Nope. Do I have such rocket socket? Wait. Ta-da! Sort of. It's one of these. It's in a weird spot, so I am just going to use these pliers and tighten this. I would advise putting that LED bezel in earlier. It probably said that in the book and I ignored it. I'm your typical guy. I look at the instructions, I respect them, and I go my own way. I'm a journeyman. I'm a wanderer. I'm a frontiersman, you know. I see the instruction and I know it's good, but I go, where's the adventure in that? There's no adventure. That's really loose. I again should have done that earlier. And because of that, I've really failed you all on the LED bezel holder. That's going to be your status LED. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. That's really bothersome. I can't not tighten that. I just can't do that to you. Let's see. I have some actual sockets. Too big. I don't have this size. That is very odd. Is that the right one? Ah, found it. It's the 10mm rocket socket. All right, that's tight. Now, people just keep saying Carol. It's really funny. All right. Look at that. So we just got to wire some stuff, right? You can use these on the other two. It's unnecessary though. Don't really have to do that. All right, let's look at this and solder on the wires. Where did they go? I've skipped ahead so much. Let's add 2 wires here. You have wires that are necessary off these edges. So let's put those in and solder it. Where did my wire go? This is that part in the build where like things are disappearing. Here we go. Should have put that in before I put the switch in. See, I'm making mistakes, but I'm letting you know that I'm human. I'm just going to solder that from the top, which I don't advise. But if your lead is long enough, you'll be fine. I'll make it look clean for you. Let's see here. There is a reason instructions exist. But you know, not everyone's building it on a live stream and attempting to do it in an hour. So I've gone 1 hour. I feel good about where I'm at. And I know that a lot of you enjoyed this long form stuff. So I'm not too concerned. Again, if you can't hang for the whole thing, watch it over a couple days, you know what I'm saying? So here we go. Solder that in. That wire should be coming from the bottom, but I installed the switch. And no regrets. No regrets. I mean, I have a little bit of regret. Same thing here. Put that in. But I am showing you, you can break the rules as long as you're confident with the new rules that you make. And I just made some rules. Some people call it making choices. You know, I made a choice. There we go. Belle's cheering me on in the comments. Thank you, Belle. All right, so we're fully wired here. I need to put the power jack in. Where did that go? There's the LED. Where is the power jack? It's right here. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Okay, this feels good. I would say the feeling I'm having right now is a real. It's a real thing. A little bit of a dopamine hit here, you know, from building. Pedals are my drug. You know what I'm saying? I don't need the drugs. I have pedals. Power jack is where you're obviously going to plug in power. So let's put that right here. It has a long and a short leg. And then it has another nut here that goes on. Wow. Again, there are certain things that I feel like should have been done earlier, and I'm pretty sure the instructions said to do that earlier. But did I listen? That's my 1 hour timer. I'm rolling here. Tightening this in a horrible fashion because I can't get the socket in there, but we're good. That is good enough for this demonstration. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's put the jacks in as well. We have to have an in and an out jack. I don't like in and out. I prefer 5 guys, but I do like in and out on pedals, because if you don't have an in and an out, you can't hear the pedal. Such wisdom. You know what I'm saying? You really need that. Let's see here. Let's put the jacks in. Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. McDonald's theme song. Let's see. We got this and this. These rocket sockets, again, they're amazing. Very, very handy. Just need to use the right ones, obviously. That one's a little off. There we go. They're all disorganized. I had them out the other day, had them organized. But like, that's so nice. You don't need any pliers or anything. You just go for it. What says I'm loving it? Dun 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 dun. Everybody's gonna eat McDonald's for lunch. I think that's all I need for the rocket sockets. So we'll put those back. All right. Let's wire up the power. The power jack. I did that thing where I should have soldered wires on the back end. But you know, I'm living an experience here. And I'm just going to use the yellow wire for the power jack. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I would say wiring is the most boring part of building the pedal. It's not glamorous. Nobody's going to applaud you, you know. Solder that in. Again, soldering on the top side is a no-no, but I'm a professional and I don't want to pull the board out, and it will be fine. All right. Let's see. Last wire. Again, professional. Do not advise soldering on the top side to you. I just don't. It's not smart. People get hurt, you know, but I got to do what I got to do for you. There we go. ASMR. Okay, let's solder on the power wires. So this is really straight ahead. You solder this wire right here, as shown in the booklet, to the long leg of the power jack. So I'm just going to strip this wire off. I'm going to put it in the long leg here. Bend it a little. And I'm just going to solder that directly in, like such. All right. Now we're going to solder the other one. I'm not worried about cleanliness of build, but I don't want it to be horrible. So I'm just going to stand that wire up out of the way. Now we're going to do what it says here, the other wire to that jack. I'm going to clip that off. It's a little long. This will go to the negative side of the power. My giant fingers trying to go inside of the circuit. That is really tough. But there you go. Again, I said this at the top. Take your time. Don't get in a rush. I'm rushing with wisdom. Another great band name. I kind of know what I should slow down on. And this is the kind of stuff you don't want to rush through. The wiring is a troubleshooting nightmare. So you want to get that right. Now we're on to the jacks. So this is the install the input jack. So I already installed the jacks. I jumped ahead. And this is the ground wire. And you want to send that to the ground lug. So it's pretty straight ahead. The ground lug, if you look inside of a pedal, it's touching the center. You have two tabs. So if I zoom out here so I can get close. On a jack, you have two lugs. One is on the outside. That's a Stain song. On the outside, and then one is touching the center of the jack. That's your ground. I have referenced Creed, Stained. I've really gone for it today. I really have. All right, let's put this in. Again, I'm not measuring. They have really good measurements for you, and I encourage you to do that on your wiring, but you don't have to do that. So there's my ground wire going up to the ground of the jack, which we call the sleeve. I like to bend the wire on the jacks back at like a 90 degree so that they're kind of hooked in there even without the solder. I think that's something really handy to do. I'm just going to solder these one at a time so stuff doesn't get moved. I'm turning the vent on for a bit. It's getting smoky in here, you know what I'm saying? I saw a comment, wait until he solders the LED backwards. I might not put the LED in. Fuzz doesn't need an LED. That's child's play. And then we're gonna solder this to the tip. So the tip is the outer ring of the jack, not touching the center. Again, this is all in the instructions. I want to do a good job just talking you through this because a lot of you're like, man, could I ever build a pedal? How hard is it, etc. So I am talking through and being redundant on purpose. And I just want to show you, like, this is the practicality of building this pedal properly. Over the years, when people have asked me stuff, I'm always, if they ask me about building, I'm like, just try it. Go slow, try it. Don't be afraid to slow down, etc., etc. All right, we're nearing the end. This is amazing. What are these for? Hold on, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, that's, I made my mistake. I should have just looked at this. I actually put the wrong wires on here. Those are, let me double check this. Hold on. Oh my God, that's the LED. I did totally wire this wrong. This is what you get for getting in a hurry. You're about to see me. I wired the LED to the power jack because I was not paying attention to the manual. But you know, this is real life. That's actually the power. Incredible. We're about to get real in here. Watch this. I'm glad that I did this because you need to know that you might mess up. And I'm being really serious. I wired every one of these wrong. Some of you probably caught this. I was assuming what the board indicators were. So right now I'm heating the joints and simply pulling out the parts. I only wired 3 things, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to use the solder sucker. You might want to use this right here. And you might want to pull this from, yeah. So that's just going to remove that solder. I can tell you right now, we will not do the LED because I don't want to pull the board out on that. But we are going to do this. This is actually the ground that we saw over here. So this goes around to that edge. I wasn't paying attention. The drawing is really clear. That was me rushing. It's hilarious. Hilarious. Let's see here. All right. This won't take long. You're all wondering, is this going to work? And I told you wiring is the part where you need to slow down, and it's the part where I was not slowing down. But that's okay. So that is definitely where that goes. So I'm going to widen out here so I don't have to think about the camera so much. There we go. That's also going to be, this side goes over. I would advise page 29, if you're a visual person, it kind of just shows where the wires go. I should have just went to page 29 and just followed the grid lines that are drawn, because it shows everything really well. See this? It shows all the wires touching the parts, but I got all hasty. You know me, getting all hasty. This outside lug goes to the tip over here. I want to make sure. Yeah, that's the output jack. Yep, that's correct. Let's solder that in. And let's see. Bell, you know what? We have a little staff lunch. We're gonna move it to 12 o'clock. That's what we need to do today. Or at least I'll be there at 12. Bell will probably be hanging here with me as well. We're not gonna do the LED. You can figure that out on your own, that's fine. And the power jack, let's wire that up. The power jack is actually this wire right here. So now that we know, yeah, I soldered them wrong. I love it. I need to desolder the tip of this. I think it's an interesting thing. I'm imagining, you know, there's these people who are like, oh, he messed up, but it's like, this is part of the thing. And also, talk to me about that when you attempt to live stream building it in front of 1.1 thousand people and you're conscious of time. So there's an element here that's unrealistic for you. And I really do think that most of you can build this pretty effortlessly. Again, give yourself a solid 2 hours and go slowly and you'll be fine. I would say it's a 2-hour build. That's kind of my instinct on what it feels like. I need to put, there is one more wire. This is the tip of the output jack wire right here. Let's put it right there. Solder that in. Let's see here. No exhaust, just breathing it in. All right, we do need power, so let's I'm going to clip these here where this should just go straight to that, but I'm gonna pull a classic, just kind of make it work scenario. Because you won't do that. You'll go a little slower. You'll wire it exactly like this diagram says. But I am going to just connect these and move on. I'm going to actually just put them together because I don't want to pull the board. What I will do is put some heat shrink on it. I have heat shrink right here. I'll show you how that works. So heat shrink is just a really simple, it's like a tubing that you can put over wires to bind, like kind of insulate and keep them apart. And I just use a cigarette lighter, and it melts it down across the part. So I'm going to slide heat shrink on right there. And then I'm going to put these wires together like such. I'm just going to electrician them, kind of twist them together. Actually, I don't even have to do that. I can just kind of shove the braids together, which works really well. And then just dab a little bit of solder on. And then the heat shrink will cover that up. Again, this is unnecessary if you just took the time and actually built it like it's said to build it. Let's see. So all things considered, without that error, I would have been pretty close to like an hour 15 on the full build, which I think that's really good. I think if you've never built, you're unfamiliar with everything, 3 hours. I think if you're good, if you've soldered before, you know, I think you have a good 2-hour window. The heat shrink, I'm basically just going to roll it over those joints. Smush that down a little bit. And let's see here. Yeah, it works pretty good. So I want it to not fall apart. That would be the goal. So that's what I did. I just joined those wires with heat shrink. And a little cigarette lighter action. Melt it down on there a bit. All right, so the pedal is wired. No LED. Let's listen, because I'm going to just show you the trim pots. It's telling you how to adjust the trim pots for the transistors. And then it shows you how the controls work. So you have a volume, a tone, and a fuzz. So this is where we find out if it works. So I'm gonna put my tools away because I need to pull this cable over, and let's hook it up. On my side over here, I have a switchback. I use it in the shootout videos, but I just have I'm using it as an effects loop. So here's the pedal, and out, in, just like that. And then turn the knobs down and plug in 9-volt power without melting it with my soldering iron. I don't have the LED on because I just don't care. And let's see here. So Telecaster, Nash Telecaster, I keep it by my bench. No sound. Let's see here. Let's double check this. This is fun. That should bypass. It should be bypassing. Let's see. Cable's plugged in. Let me see if I get a... Let me try this. All right, that is the absolute bypass from the looper. So I should have engaged sound right here. So I don't. So the thing here is what's going on. So looking at the book really quickly, I should have a bypass sound because this is a true bypass pedal. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to heat up the pads on the switch just in case something did not connect. I'm just going to reheat, drop a little solder on those and just let it like reflow, because there is no reason to not have a bypassed signal. I don't have the transistors in yet. I do know that. That has nothing to do with the bypass signal. So no, that is not working. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Make sure you just kind of check your wires. I promise my problem will be in the wiring. That is like absolutely the case. So let's see. Is there like a bridged part? Yeah, it should absolutely be working. It wouldn't even matter with the power. If like the power wasn't plugged in or not, it wouldn't matter. So no signal. The ribbon cable soldered well. This is soldered well. And that doesn't matter for this. Ground. Oh, I see the problem. This jack in the book is in a different orientation than I put it in. So this is a really great example to show you. So in the book, they put their jack with the ground here, the sleeve, and the tip here. But I actually put it in the other way. So that means these wires are backwards. And so if that's backwards, then your input jack is backwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my fan. I'm just going to switch these wires. That's all I'm doing. And then we'll have a working pedal. But as I said, I called it. I said it'll be an issue in the wiring. And that one's a little tricky because to be honest, I have always put my jacks in like that for 15 years. So it's just a habit, right? I didn't look at their booklet and go, oh, I don't know, I better do it like that. I didn't really look at how they orient their jack. So that's on me. But, you know, that's a real thing. It's like when you do something for so long, that's just how it is. So now, let's switch these around. If I had looked, that clearly says ground right here, and ground is sleeve. But did I look? Not really, because I just assumed that the drawing was oriented the way I had oriented the jacks. All right. I'm going to solder this on, and this pedal is going to work. I see people, I don't know what's going on. I can't watch the chat, and I see them begging please or something. What does it say? Please put transistors in your circuit. That has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. I'll do that in a minute. Firstly, if I didn't explain, even though I think I did, I'm making sure I have a bypass signal, and then we'll switch it over to the affected signal and insert the transistors. So this problem,
Josh, the transistor.
This has nothing to do with... Hold on one second. Okay, Belle texted my wife for her to come down and tell me transistors. It's not transistors. I'm worried about the bypass signal. So I'm not to the circuit yet. And I did say that. So check this out. My wife was like, put the transistors in. I was just staring like, y'all don't listen. Let's check this out. Here's our bypass signal. So I fixed the problem. Now when I turn it on, There's no signal because I don't have transistors. That's what I was getting to. There's your bypass. Off means the transistors aren't in and you don't hear it. So to be super clear, there are two things to test, and that's what I was doing. Bypass signal has to work. That wasn't working because I had switched the wires on the input jack. Now I need to go to the circuit. So not having bypass signal had nothing to do with transistors. I know they're like freaking out in the comments and such. I love this. I love that they text my wife. That's really funny. All right, here's the circuit. Ready? We have the sockets that I installed, and we're gonna pop in the original transistors. Cool? Let's do that. Let's pop these in. Here they are. I'm just gonna put them in. These are BC108s. And I'll show you a couple. I actually have a germanium that'll work in this. A lot of people think germanium has to always be positive voltage. It doesn't. And I have some Japanese made NPNs. You want to use NPN transistors. So if you're on a parts place, if you're like on that stompboxparts.com or whatever, you can look at anything that's NPN and you might see germanium. So I'm going to actually show you a little bit of this with a germanium. So now we have our bypass. Now I'm going to turn it on, and we have the pedal. Now the knobs were down. Oh, it's working. So I'm going to turn the fuzz all the way up, and I have not biased it though. So keep in mind, there's a comment that says, y'all gonna get zapped. Okay, I have not biased it in any way. It's just raw and nasty. Okay, you are gonna hear my lapel, and I'm fine with that because I don't want to mute it. I'm gonna mess with these bias trim pots. Now, they call this clean, and they call this bias. You can do this by ear, absolutely. And here's how you would do that. Put your little screwdriver there, and let's use this one. Turn it. So that's starving the voltage, more voltage, and then the clean is really the other transistor. So I'm going to turn the clean all the way up, and I believe that gives it a little more voltage. I need to double check what these trim pots are in the schematic. But I'm done. I built it, and I just biased it by ear. Let's play just a second with it, and I'll show you a couple other transistor options. How about I mute my lapel for all of you? I think you would enjoy that, just so I can play. So I'll turn the lapel off, and I'll just play the fuzz, and then I'll switch transistors. I'll turn my lapel back on and show you one more set of transistors. Cool? All right. Okay, so I'm going to put in a different set of transistors. Those sound fine. And obviously, I'm tweaking the controls, but I can also mess infinitely with the 2 other trim pots inside. So really, this is a 5-control fuzz. You could go as far as actually pull out the trim pots and mount them externally. You could drill more holes in the side. Like, you could mod this. Those trim pots, just put the same value actual potentiometer and you could wire it up and you would have 5 controls. So I am going to remove these transistors, and I have several different things here to show you. And then we'll close out, and part 2 will be a breadboard. It'll be much quicker. As long as it's an NPN transistor. NPN is what you need, not PNP. PNP would be a positive voltage fuzz, positive ground. And that's usually germanium. But I do actually have, these are germanium. They are NPN. They're Japanese. So that's a germanium that works in here. I have all kinds of stuff. These are some new old stock 824s. These are amazing. I have boxes and boxes over here. I have bags of, I bought out I found this hoarder. He had all these parts. I have thousands of crazy transistors. These are 293019s. These are cool. These are 2N1613 NPNs. I mean, it's kind of like an endless thing. You can just go on and on. I have sleeves. This is a 295038 bags of these. Let's try 2 transistor sets just to see. I like these. These are a 2N7600A. Now, gains are important. If you want to get really technical before I close this off, the gains matter. Q1, I would recommend, I would space the gains apart if you can by 20. It's called HFE. We'll look at this on the breadboard, but you might want to say this is 80 and make that 100 gain. You want to cascade lower into higher gain. And you can do that in a few different ways. You have to obviously measure them or have them pre-measured. So this is a thing called an Atlas DCA. And I can put a transistor in here. So if I open these up, I have a little rig here where the wires are touching on the breadboard. And I can hit this button, testing, and it says HFE on the bottom is 45. So that's a pretty weak transistor. I would want to just go through these and find, you know, this is the thing where people are like, anybody can do Fuzz Face. Well, the problem is you can take the same schematic and a builder might wildly vary on his or her choice of these. So that's a 106. I'm going to put that in Q1. I'm going to find something hotter than 106 and put it in Q2. This is just how I do fuzz. And I have some numbers. I'm a little secretive on them because I have a certain way that my ears love fuzz to sound. So when you're playing like a 3 series, like there's a lot of thought in that. This is a 53. That's pretty weak. You can mismatch things as well. You could put a different transistor in Q1 than Q2. Let's see what this comes out to be. 45. So I could sit here all day. I don't want to do that, obviously. But I'm just going to show you, for example, I'm going to pull this. I know that 108 is going to be pretty hot. I know that this is going to be a cooler transistor. So let's put that in. That's the beauty of the socket that I installed. Now I can easily crank this back up. Totally different sounding fuzz immediately. Like the gain taper is way different. I'm telling you, a weaker transistor in Q1 is the way to go. That sounds really different, like very different. I can adjust the trim pots. So I think you see there, wildly different. And just for fun, I'm going to show you this. These are germanium. So you can do an NPN standard voltage if you find NPN germaniums. You can search that on eBay. So I'm popping that out and I'm going to put this transistor in. Out of curiosity, nope, I'm just going to put it in. Let's see here. I'm not even going to measure it. So we're putting this will be a hybrid. If you've ever seen the term hybrid fuzz face, that means there's two different transistor types. That's nuts. So that the germanium, that's because the bias is going to be wildly different. But that lets me get all that farty sound. So that is wildly mismatched. Like crazy, crazy. Let's see here. That might actually be the orientation, but you get the point. So the point is, we built the Fuzz Face kit from StewMac, and that was my process. And I think you saw, I stuck with this really well until I didn't, and I didn't pay attention to a couple wires, and then you saw that process. But the main thing is, and I hope you saw me do this, I just stayed calm, and I knew my biggest tips on this, it's always wiring. I went back to the wiring, and I wanted to make sure first that I got a bypass sound. And this is where the confusion came in, because Joshua and Bell were like, the transistors are now. I was saying, I'm not ready to go there yet. I just want the bypass signal. So that meant that the ribbon cable was wired properly. And that meant that my jacks were proper. I don't want to worry about the circuit until I hear bypass signal. When I heard bypass signal, I then turned on the circuit and worried about the transistor types. And so this works. It's a fantastic product. Again, you can paint it, put your decals on and such. Hour and 47 minutes with quite a few mistakes on my part, but that's part of the game. Again, if you enjoy this, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna continue this series. I'm gonna do a breadboard of a Fuzz Face next. I'm gonna build a breadboard from scratch and show you this exact circuit, but from scratch on a breadboard just like this. And then we'll go from there and talk about modifying. It's really exciting. And also Brian Wampler Pedals, he has a fantastic channel about building. So I would recommend that you go watch that. I don't have anything else to say. I would just say, oh, there's one more thing. I'm in Chicago in August, the Fretboard Summit. It is August 24th through 26th. I'm actually using the Fuzz Face, and I have Robert Keeley and Heather Brown. Heather Brown and Robert are going to be competing Iron Chef style. I'm gonna lead this thing on a stage. It's going to be live streamed, I believe. And I would love to see you at the event. And you can go to Fretboard Summit. Just Google Fretboard Summit. Fretboardjournal.com is the magazine, and they host this event. It'll be a live Iron Chef, but for fuzz. So I'm going to be bringing all the parts, and they're going to build a Fuzz Face from scratch. I think you'll love that. It's super, super fun. That's it. I've had a wonderful time. This was super fun. I really love doing this and doing anything I can to teach you that pedals are not magic. It's a creative thing. I often say it's like cooking. Once you learn a Fuzz Face circuit, you can cook up your own. I mean, you can only make a cheeseburger a million ways, and a Fuzz Face is like a cheeseburger. It's going to be a Fuzz Face topology, but man, you can do so much with it. So I hope this was encouraging to you. I'll see you next time, and we're going to do that breadboard. But until then, it worked. It worked. Signing off. Have a great, great day. Bye-bye.